And today finds me in St. Lawrence County, New York. This is the far northwest corner of the state, near the border with Quebec and Ontario. And we're going to have an afternoon adventure looking for the many different waterfalls found along the Grass River that flows off the Adirondack Mountains and Adirondack Plateau northwest towards the St. Lawrence River, eventually out into the North Atlantic. It's about a half-mile back to Lamson's Falls from County Road 27 here in St. Lawrence County. Easy to get to, plenty of room to park here. This place gets pretty popular on the warmer weather weekends, but it's a first week of September. It's a little cool and drizzly right now. It is supposed to get sunny as the day goes on. We're going to check out several different waterfalls on this road and the road that leads off of it called Thule Road. We'll get out the map here and plot our course and see how many of these we can record today. And back before the days of all trails and all these other wonderful inventions and, results of the cellular phone and internet age, the New York State and other gazetteers were your way to find your way around these northern woods and any woods in these states where you wanted to find things. So New York's a beautiful state. It's a big state, and it's got waterfalls almost everywhere except on Long Island. And we're on page 94 here, or we're going to be on page 94, which is almost to Canada, and checking out the way the water falls off the northwest part of the Adirondack Plateau and Adirondack Mountains. And my mistake, it was page 93. We will be on page 94 as well. We're just south of Canton, New York here, and that's the direction I came from the north on what's called Clare Road, which is St. Lawrence County Route 27. And we're at about an 800-foot elevation here on the Grass River, and it's got 600 or 700 feet to drop before it finds the St. Lawrence. But it originates at a much higher elevation, about double of what we're at right now, is where most of the lakes and bogs and swamps that start this river near Cranberry Lake at about a 1,500-foot elevation. It takes its time coming off the Adirondack Plateau, but then you start running into many different named waterfalls that are open to the public. And I've got them all circled and labeled on this map on page 94 and page 93. So some falls in this area are on private land. I did some research to find out which falls I could visit legally. And there's about 6 of them, and I'm not sure how much time each one's going to take. We're not going to rush our way through it. We're going to start at the Lamson's Falls and make our way down to probably the area around Twin Falls, which is also a very large waterfall. And the two just below Twin Falls are a little shorter, but we may just take a quick look at those as well. And then proceed on to Rainbow Falls and the Copper Rock Falls as time allows. And a very pleasant, easy walk back to the top of Lamson's Falls. This is an old gravel road, folks. It's crushed stone. There's handicap parking there, and now I realize why there is. This could be done in a wheelchair or people with a stroller or any kind of physical limitations, at least to get close to the falls. We're getting closer now. It's not that far of a walk, less than a mile. And we'll continue recording the beauty of this falls and anything else that catches my attention. Wildlife, plants, geology, whatever. This is a new place to me. We'll see what comes into view as we go. And less than a 10-minute walk from the parking area on Route 27. The trail splits. I went to the left, and sure enough, we're on the Grass River here at the top of Lamson Falls. And we can see what kind of rock we have here. This guy is made of. It takes a tough rock to make a waterfall, but there's a lot of tough rocks in this area. You can see the streaks in this rock. And this is a type of gneiss, G-N-E-I-S-S. And I'm a little rusty on my metamorphic rocks, but the fact that it's banded like this, I'm guessing it originally was a sandstone. And when the sandstones get a little warm inside the lower depths of the earth during mountain building, they can turn into what's called a gneiss, a granitic gneiss. And the minerals often come together in clumps like this silica we can see right here, and sometimes the iron as well. I didn't study the geology maps of this area too much, so all I can say is this is one of the older rocks in New York State. This whole area is older rocks. It's called Precambrian. Let's stick our nose around this corner here. We can see the top of the falls, or hear the top of the falls. You can see the ledge continues on, and the falls are just in the back by those pine trees. And there are several different paths to different vantage points of Lamson's Falls. The handicap path brings you to the midpoint of the falls, right by this tree that's washed down the fallway. About where I've got the field of view right now. So this falls makes several big steps as it drops down about 40 or 50 feet in elevation, and we'll video it from as many places as I can safely get to. And after taking in the view from the top of Lamson's Falls, if you come back to the main trail, the handicap accessible trail, which is crushed stone, comes right down to the middle of the falls with a great view of the midpoint. Let's take a look at it. And there's that tree I was looking at a few minutes ago from above. That's a big old, probably a white pine tree that has tumbled and stumbled its way down the Grass River. Takes a lot of water to push a tree that big or float it. But during snowmelt or after real heavy rain events like many areas have seen this summer, this would be one big wash of water. And I'm sure at the next big wash during next spring snowmelt, it would find its way back down even further. But there's more of that banding in the rocks. Really neat to look at. Makes for great photos too. And to get to the bottom of the falls, it does require some moderate hiking. It's not steep, but not something you could do in a stroller or a wheelchair. But that ramp I just showed, or the pathway I just showed, does make that middle part of the falls very accessible, which is a great effort by the state of New York to do so. Got a little beach area down here where the water probably eddies out, especially during high water events. And there's flotsam and jetsam way up on this beach here, so when this thing gets humming during snowmelt or heavy rain events, I'm sure it does get quite a bit higher and quite a bit, you know, turns into one big sheet of water. And I don't know about how safe it is to swim here, but from what I read, it's a popular place to swim. There's several universities nearby that have, you know, people that are into that kind of stuff. So a little cool today to be swimming. We got more of this gneiss here. Huge ledges. And just a neat looking waterfalls. I really like the waterfalls that take their time and find different ways down these rock formations. I just think they're more interesting and more interesting to photograph as well. Let's zoom in a little bit closer. And it hasn't rained a whole lot in the last 10 days, but the bogs and swamps that form the lowlands between the mountains of the Adirondacks hold their water for months. The sphagnum moss and the fact that it's all forested, the water will keep coming down these mountains even after the heavy rains have ceased. And for those that are into the sport of bouldering, these nice ledges here are fairly forgiving and plenty of handholds just above that beach area downstream of the falls. You can boulder your way up here, and I'm sure there's other pathways up here as well to these rock ledges, which is just an interesting place to explore. Let's go down to this lower ledge and take another look at the falls. And just below that last overlook, what's so pretty with these rocks and pine trees. Just a nice place to hang out for several hours. I'm not going to stay that long because there's several more falls in this area I'd like to explore. I got about 5 hours to do it today. Let's just zoom in one more time and look at Lamson's Falls. And after leaving Lamson Falls, we went south on St. Lawrence County Road 27, 3 or 4 miles, and headed east on what's called Tule Pond Road, and I believe the name changes to Tule Road. And there are signs for Bassford or Brasford Falls, I can't remember the name, and for Sinclair Falls. There is a Twin Falls along there. I had about an idea about where to look for it. I didn't see an official sign, and I decided to pass the first two, the Brasford and Sinclair Falls, over to get to Rainbow Falls because Rainbow was larger than those. And it's about a 0.3 mile walk, so it shouldn't take too long to get back there. Let's go see what this one's about, and then we should have time to visit one more of the remaining falls on this road. There's the Copper Rock Falls, the Twin Falls, and the other two I just mentioned. And this trail back to Rainbow Falls off of Tule Pond Road, it's just awash in ferns. Got some hay-scented fern back here. And I'm rusty on the names of the rest of them. The hay-scented ferns are always the ones that are the lighter color. And if you were to take a piece of it and rub it through your hands, you can smell the hay smell of fresh cut hay. But a beautiful walk back here. Beautiful shaded trail. Not too steep. It's not handicap accessible, but you could probably take a stroller most of the way back here. And if the noise is any indication, I heard the falls as soon as I went into the woods, a 1/4 to a 1/2 mile away. So let's go see what that noise is all about with the Rainbow Falls here. And after crossing that little wooden bridge, which could get very slippery when wet, so please use caution, there's a network of goat paths. None of them are very wide, but I took the one heading to the top, or the entrance rapids, to Rainbow Falls. And we'll just continue exploring this whole area top and bottom, as the goat paths allow us to do so. But in our foreground here, we got some northern white cedar, which is scattered throughout this area. You don't see it everywhere, but it can grow way elevation. I was up on Algonquin Peak a couple days ago, almost at 5,000 feet, and found some growing almost at tree line. So your northern white cedar is a very hardy tree. I've got more information on this on my other channel. The channel's called Barking Up the Right Tree, B-A-R-K-I-N apostrophe up the right tree. And the northern white cedar is on there with eastern red cedar as a combined study. And just below that northern white cedar, clinging to that cliff here, it's a beautiful place for vegetation. Some really nice plants back here. Several hundred feet higher than where we were at Lamson's Falls, and it has a more of a Northwoods feel here. This has the same feel as you would if you're in the High Peaks area, as far as the smell of the ferns and the sound of the rushing water. So here we are at the top of the main drop of Rainbow Falls. And while I'm looking at this, let's zoom in a little bit and look at the color of this water. I noticed this at Lamson's Falls, but I didn't comment on it. It looks like Coca-Cola or iced tea coming down the waterfalls. Well, the reason iced tea gets its colors is because you take tea leaves and steep them in warm water, and the tannic acid from the tea leaves colors the water to a brown color. The same thing happens with all these pine needles and hemlock needles and spruce needles in these north woods. These woods are mostly, or at least partially, evergreen needles that have a lot of tannic acid in them. And as the water percolates through them during the snow melt and during rain events, and in the bogs, it's like steeping your tea. The water gets a tea color and makes for a real interesting contrast with these rocks. And from this next vantage point, we can see the whole flume of Rainbow Falls here. I'm glad I chose this falls. It has a completely different feel than Lamson's Falls. It's narrow, it's jagged, it's powerful, and doesn't have that gentle feel that Lamson's Falls has. And they're both beautiful places. This is more raw and rugged and more of an untamed feel. And with that note in mind, you want to supervise people here that may not have good judgment, young kids, even older kids. I am feeling very safe where I'm making these videos, but there's no guardrails, and a fall into this torrent of water could be deadly from the currents and from the fall itself. But what a raw, powerful feel. This is marked as a 30-foot fall, but I think if you include all the rapids, it falls quite a bit more. We're about 300 to 400 feet higher than where we were at the start of this afternoon adventure. No matter how good a swimmer you are, if you get caught in an undertow from a waterfall like this, under you will stay. So please be extra careful around the tops of these falls. And the goat paths continue right to the base of the falls here, folks. And we got a little bit of a Canadian. We're not far from Canada here, and we certainly have the weather of Canada. Don't let those needles confuse you. It's not a hemlock and it's not a balsam fir. It does not have the white lines on the back that those other two trees I just mentioned would have. And it is a preferred browse for deer. So it's often growing on these cliffs where the deer can't get it. And the woods and the rocks and the falls themselves, this is as sublime and complete immersion in the natural world as you can get with such a short walk, folks. I feel like I'm 10 miles back from the road at this Rainbow Falls. There's not too many people here. I haven't seen anybody actually. And the sounds and the smells of the forest has a much more secluded feeling than the actual distance from the parking. And here you can really see that tea-colored water. And we're going to make one more stop along this Tule Pond Road. Copper Rock Falls would be on my way back to my campsite for the weekend. So I am inclined to go that direction and continue east on Tule Pond Road and see what's up there at Copper Rock Falls. And as you head east on Tule Pond Road from Rainbow Falls, the next sign you see for a waterfall is for Copper Rock Falls. Sign says it's a half-mile back there. From what I've read, you actually get to the water, the riverside before that, and then you go upstream. And that might explain why I think I can hear the falls already. I probably hear some of the rapids from below the falls. Very peaceful back here, folks. I made this channel to get you to lesser known places, at least lesser known to me, and hopefully lesser known to you. Well, I can tell you what, this is the start of a holiday weekend, and you can see how many cars are using this road. So if you want to escape the crowds at a time of year when it would be busy at most places, try some of these falls. And as we approach the lower part of the Copper Rock Falls, we're treated to a beautiful display of the berries of this witch hobble, which are white flowers in the spring and become beautiful red shiny berries. Eventually they kind of get that darker color, and I won't comment on their edibility. I haven't looked that up. I've never tried them. I'll leave that unsaid at this point, but I've been taking photos of these the whole time I've been in this area for about 3 or 4 days. I can't seem to get enough of them as far as their beauty. And even some of them in the upper elevations are starting to turn a beautiful purple color while the berries are still in place. And I think we're being greeted to the entrance or exit rapids of the Copper Rock Falls, which isn't a straight drop by any means. It's more of a flume. But like I've said before, sometimes those are more interesting in my opinion. They're just a little more, showing a little bit more of Mother Nature's creativity. So we'll pause for just a second and get a better look at these guys. And the Copper Rock Falls are a short walk from your car, but beautiful. This river has moved its channel very recently, left a lot of areas without trees because of the movement of the channel, and those areas are covered in asters and goldenrod in the late summer here. And yes, there is definitely a copper color to these rocks, and they're beautiful. And this is not a waterfall if you want one that comes crashing straight down, but it's beautiful in its own little way. And it takes several different pathways here through the wild woods of St. Lawrence County. Incredibly beautiful in its own way. All three of these falls are unique. No two look the same. And they're all a short walk from the roads that I just mentioned. We'll look around for just a few more minutes and call it a day, but what a day it's been. This has all been in about a 4-hour time period that I've been doing these videos driving and also doing a lot of photography. These are great places for photos. They're just so unique and so many different angles you can take to document the beauty that's here. Well, if you had any doubt as to why this is called Copper Rock Falls, don't let the bottom flumes fool you. They do look like several falls. But that's just your warm-up, folks. That's the gentler of the 3 falls here. If you continue down the marked foot trail, about another 1/4 mile, you come to a second falls in this narrow slot that resembles that of the Rainbow Falls. And about another couple 100 yards upstream from there, we'll zoom in. There's a 3rd falls that goes down about another 15 feet. So this river loses 500 feet between where I'm standing and the bottom of Lamson's Falls. And many of the other rivers that fall off the Adirondack Plateau do the same thing. Some of them have multiple power dams interrupting their beauty, but this one does not, at least not in too many places. So come enjoy the Grass River. I didn't even see all the falls on this stretch of road, but I am absolutely impressed and very well satisfied for the 5 hours I've been out here looking around. This is quite the place to see, and every one of these falls is beautiful and unique in its own special way.